goes into the transfer portal, is back to Eugene, and will be a backup for a year. Whew! More on that coming up on campus. We've got Devon Pouncey in hour number 3. We've got NFL talk on a Tuesday. We are locked and loaded for RCM right now, 620 Rip City Radio.
The home of the OSAA is 620 Rip City Radio. It's time for Justin Myers to wake you up here on Rip City Mornings, 620 Rip City Radio.
And a very happy Tuesday. It is RCM. I'm your host, Justin Myers. Super producer Brenden is safely partitioned on the other side of the glass. Thanks for getting up early with us or staying up late. However you are rolling on this particular Tuesday. Oh, what a night on Monday Night Football last night. I have an interesting comparison I'm going to make here in a couple of minutes. But before we get to that, a lot of stuff to dive into on the big show today. We are going to do a complete Week 15 roundup in the NFL as we are down to just 3 games left of the regular season. Playoff spots on the line. Teams are banged up. Teams are just grinding it out. So we'll look back at the week that was, from Thursday night football to Saturday football to Sunday football, ultimately culminating with Monday night football and a Seahawks win last night and a much-needed win. Seahawks now climb back to 7-7, and they are in the mix for the NFC wildcard. All hope was lost 24 hours ago, it seemed. Not only were the Seahawks staring down a losing season. Not only were they looking at a 4-game losing streak that never happens under Pete Carroll, but they were going to battle with the second-best team, at least we thought, in the NFC. We didn't know who was going to play quarterback. That's the point that the Seahawks got to yesterday, which, I'll be honest, mark my words, I don't make a lot of predictions. I make a lot of assumptions, but I don't make a lot of predictions because I get them wrong a lot. Mark my words. The NFL is going to come up with some sort of new rule implementing quarterback starters being named, because what the Seahawks did yesterday, and because, I'm sorry, you watch these games. Look, I dabble. I do a little betting on my phone. Not a sharp, which is what the kids call the big money gamblers. Gambling does not affect my life. Have a little fun on a Monday night, going like, I'll take a look. Bet the over. Got crushed. Knew it by the middle of the second quarter. That's fine. But mark my words, that will be the last time a team goes into the game before kickoff without announcing a starting quarterback. That's never say never. I'm saying never. It is never going to happen ever again. Because imagine being one of those people in the gambling public. Monday Night Football, huge gambling from what I understand. And again, the gambling world, I'm new to it. I don't talk about it a bunch, but I understand that it's real. And from everything I've heard, Monday Night Football is always a big gambling night. Why? Because the last chance to make up for your bad Sunday. You hit some 9-leg parlay, but you needed a 10th, and it's like, all right, we're going to make up for it with Monday Night Football. So it's always a big gambling night. And I watch these commercials. Now, I know that some of you are like super producer Brenden. You've maybe cut the cord, and you don't watch commercials anymore. And the last place we watch commercials in our lives is in live sports. And I watch these live sports, and I see these commercials, and I see that other than beer ads, snack foods, every other commercial is gambling. It's brought to you by FanDuel, brought to you by DraftKings, brought to you by ESPN Bet. I see them all. There is no way. Never say no way. There is no way the NFL is ever going to allow a team to pull off what the Seahawks pulled off yesterday, which was, we have activated both quarterbacks. Geno can play. Don't know if he's going to start. It's going to be a literal game time decision. And then the defense gets announced, of course, in warm-ups because you're at home, so you get to choose who gets announced. And it's like, here's Bobby Wagner. Yeah, we know he's starting, Pete. Who's your quarterback? I don't know. Haven't made up my mind yet. Then, this is amazing. maybe I'm obsessing over this too much because we never see this in the NFL ever. The Steelers have announced their starting quarterback for this upcoming weekend yesterday because Mike Tomlin is sick of Mitch Trubisky, and so am I. But we kick off Monday Night Football. Philadelphia gets the ball. Jalen Hurts leads what I believe was an 8-minute touchdown. Brenden, we are at 7 minutes to go in the first quarter. We still don't know who the Seahawks quarterback's going to be in the game in the first quarter. And then all of a sudden, all right, we'll go to break. We'll see who the Seahawks have. Touchdown, Eagles. Go to commercial. Couple more gambling, couple more beers, couple more chips, right? All right, and we're back. Drew Lock will be taking the snaps. And there's Geno on the sideline, clearly not dressed to play football. Right? If you looked at Geno Smith on the sideline, like he may have looked like it during warm-ups, but clearly there's no way this ever gets to happen ever again. In college, and Brenden and I are on different sides of this argument, but that's fine. In college, I love the gamesmanship. I do. I love the gamesmanship. I love the, maybe he'll play, maybe no. Turns out he had torn ACL. Right? Hey, coach, is Luke Musgrave going to play this week? Maybe. You don't know. It's like, yeah, he's scheduled for surgery.
We learned
He's
now
scheduled for surgery.
Justin, Jonathan Smith is just a really good liar.
It's true. Well, is he a good liar or is he like a casual liar? 'Cause I don't know if he's very good at it because he said no decision was made, and we all were like, I'm pretty sure a decision was
Don't
made.
ask why,
this seems
Justin,
pretty
but I
easy.
fell down a rabbit hole yesterday where I found myself watching watching his last interview.
You got to let it go, bro.
And
you got to quit looking at her Instagram post.
And
photos.
it is absolutely fascinating to see no twitching, no tells, no grabbing at your ring finger, no, eye twitches.
Yeah.
Like, he's good at it, Justin. He's good at fibbing. I'll save that.
I try not to fib ever in my life. I try not to tell any untruths, right? I try to be open and honest and transparent. We put it in the opening. That's going to go away, by the way, in 2024. But what will not go away is the fact that I will be open and honest to this audience, right? And I am who I am at this point in my life. There's no point in trying to, change. So I don't make it a point to lie all that often in my life. Sometimes you got to, okay? Sometimes you just got to. And I've always wondered, like, what my tell is. I don't know it because that's the whole point of a tell is you don't know it.
You need to ask, like, your wife. Usually people who are closest to you can tell you what your tell is.
So this is where she will get me. Because she'll call me on her way home from work and, like, say, hey, this. And all of a sudden she'll go, like, did you hear that? Or were you on your phone? And I'll pause. And I think it's the pause because I live in a world of constant communication. Brenden, you asked me a question on Make or Miss. You asked me a question during the mailbag. You asked me just a question in general. There's no hesitation because that's not the way this works in this game. The moment I hesitate, I think my wife's like, yeah, he's lying. I don't lie about serious stuff. And I don't lie about small stuff all that often. But every once in a while, she'll catch me. It's like, yeah, I was not listening to you. I was looking at Twitter. And I don't know why. I shouldn't have. But I wasn't. And I think my tell is the... We'll pause before I talk. I'd be in trouble. But back to the Seahawks. I don't think we're ever, like, Roger Goodell, I don't know if he had an emergency meeting last night. I don't know if it's like, hey, Tuesday morning. I know a lot of you are triple O, which is out of office. We get a lot of those emails around here today. Some of you might be triple O. I don't care. The Seahawks just played 8 minutes of football into Monday Night Football and did not tell anyone who their starting quarterback was. And the people in Vegas are very upset. Like,
is this like Cam Rising?
Like, this is some kind of crazy loophole. I didn't think this was possible.
Is this like Cam Rising all over again, but at the NFL level?
But in the NFL.
Which is more ridiculous because more people lost money. I mean, again, Justin, I said forever.
Would I have bet the over knowing that Geno Smith was not going to play? Probably wouldn't have.
Yeah, I mean.
But, my piddly little, you know, 10-unit bet like it's
so funny.
not going to change the world. But I'm telling you, not this year, not into the playoffs, but there will be some meeting somewhere about March or April, and they're going to be like, yeah, you must, before the ball is kicked off, you must designate a starter. You have to. We got to do it. This can't happen again.
It's funny you say that, Joseph, because, and peeling back the curtain for the listening audience, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think I am. When I first met you and we first started doing this show together, you were not a sports gambling guy, even at all.
No.
Didn't even dabble. And I remember you as so much being like, yeah, you do you. It's not for me kind of a thing. And then
Still not for me. Like,
and you kind of got turned a little bit.
Well, here's the thing. I bet the over last night. Before that, I hadn't bet in like 3 weeks. I was just like, meh. I
wish we could bet on college here. I really do.
I'm glad.
On the app.
I'm glad I can't.
Oh, yeah. If I could bet like Beaver overs and unders, man, that'd be dangerous.
Those college kids would drive me nuts.
I know.
But, well, it's not my thing, right? I'll do it, but like, the betting world, I'm like the guy who was like, yeah, maybe I'll have a glass of wine at dinner every once in a while, but I'm not like, really? Because I like to get out and have a good time. I'm the opposite. Like, I'm sure people will look at me and be like, so you can just not, like, you can go through a whole NFL Sunday and not bet? I was like, yeah, I did it. I did it this week. Monday Night Football, I was like, let's see what's in the account, and I'll give it a shot. But I understand that, like I said, ESPN and ABC are running Monday Night Football. ESPN Bet is all over the place. Every NFL Sunday, it's DraftKings and FanDuel. Like, it's all of it. So, again, it's not my obsession. It's not really even my world. But I know how advertising works. And advertising runs the whole show. Like, we talk about, I hate cancel culture. It's like, you know what cancel culture is? It's your advertisers go away. And by the way, it's not a new concept. It's happened. Tale as old as time. Song as old as rhyme. It's happened a bunch. Advertisers are like, all right, well, I can't put money into that particular program because we're going to lose. People go after the advertisers. Can you imagine if you were better last night and you were like, all right, seriously though, we're 8 minutes into this Monday Night Football game. We do not know who's running out to play quarterback for the Seahawks.
You're saying, Justin, if a grounder rolls to first, there's no one to stop it from rolling?
It's amazing that it happened last night. It's amazing. And like some weird loophole where it's like, yeah, we have two quarterbacks. Both are active. Gino's questionable, but he's not out. He may play. We don't know. And like, I'm sure if Drew Lock sprained an ankle or something yesterday, Gino could have came in and taken the snaps. Technically, they did not break any rules. They listed him as questionable. By minute 4, we're questioning it. That's the definition of questionable, I guess. They're going to fix that in the offseason. You watch. Mark my word, they shall fix that in the offseason. But what's the offseason going to look like for the Seattle Seahawks? Because, boy, there are a lot of whispers that have turned to conversational tones about maybe the future of the Seattle Seahawks. Has those whispers and conversations and potential shouts been quieted down? Or was this just a fun night and we don't talk about the future? We don't worry about it. We'll talk about that next. Plus, take a look back at the week that was NFL Week 15 here on 620 Rip City Radio. small, quaint town that is, of course, on the brink of bankruptcy, and it can all be fixed, but only if the person who is the big city obsessed learns the true meaning of Christmas and the true meaning of small town life, that really this busy, busy, busy life is not for you. And really the whole point is to slow down, appreciate the things around you, embrace Christmas. And of course, they meet the most beautiful person ever in this small town. Fall in love in 3 days and everything is great, right? Now it's great when you watch these movies because you suspend disbelief. I used to make jokes, and then I was told by my wife, please stop making jokes, you're ruining the movie. Because I was like, yeah, it's great that this person gave up their entire finance career to run an inn in Vermont. I was like, yeah, but Christmas is like once a year. What's their profits going to look like when the Christmas season is over? They met this person 3 days ago. That person's a widower. There may be some problems here. Like, what happens the next month? What happens in January? Because when we're all upset and mad because we're trying to lose that 5 pounds we put on at Christmas. And it's like, what happens? Like, don't worry about it. This is a good ending for the Christmas movie. She came back, saved the Christmas pageant, is going to buy the cookie company, and it's going to be a financial windfall. It's like, is it though? Is like the profit margin on cookies? Like, is there going to be? And I was properly told, stop it. Let me enjoy this. And you know what? It's a much better viewing experience. And most of you, I think, understand that. That brings me to the Seattle Seahawks. Because last night reminded me of a Hallmark Christmas movie in the version of football. Why do I bring that up? Because for one night in Lumen Field, up just a couple hours north of us, the Seattle Seahawks and Pete Carroll and Drew Lock, with a win over the Philadelphia Eagles, completely erased the problems of the last 4 weeks and have gotten Seahawk fans to completely ignore the potential problems heading down the road. So now let's not suspend disbelief a little bit and let's be a little realistic. That was a nice win. It was a good win for Drew Lock. Happy for the guy. Drew Lock, kind of a punchline, especially like the way it ended in Denver, and then he comes to Seattle, and it was like there was a battle, but Geno Smith got the job, and Drew Lock was like, all right, fine, I guess I'm just a backup now. And I think that was like his first win as a starting quarterback in 3 years. I mean, think about that. Think about that in your job. Whatever you would consider a win, you haven't done that in 3 years. Sure, your team has won, but you had nothing to do with it. And then you got to go in and play, and you lost. The last 2 weeks, you've lost. Like, it's been 3 years since Drew Lock has won. Good for him. Good for him. Great drive at the end. Gotta love the, hey, what's your plan here? DK Metcalf's taller than everybody? Go get it. And DK came down with the ball. And then because of that, Philly had to double team DK Metcalf. I'm assuming, I don't know the X's and O's, but Jackson Smith and Jigba gets a one-on-one. And Drew Lock throws a dime, throws an absolute dime. And for a moment, Drew Lock was the king of NFL football. One throw, one Monday night, no other games, keeping the Seahawks alive. Pete Carroll is now, the questions and the concerns about Pete Carroll are quiet. This is the end of the Christmas movie. But there's a problem. The Seahawks still have some things to talk about, you know? They still have a quarterback issue. What's laying ahead? What's the future plans? This is a good team. It might even be a playoff team. They're not a Super Bowl team. Now you might be saying, Justin, they just beat the Eagles. I know they did. Like I said, it's the end of the Hallmark movie. He was going to go away, change of heart, came back. They go to the Christmas Eve ball together, fall in love after 3 days, and nobody asks any questions about what are the logistics of this relationship. And that's kind of how I feel about the Seahawks right now. Last night is like, woohoo! Pete Carroll is our guy. Boy, what a redemption story from Drew Lock. Never mind that Drew Lock was 22 of 33 for 208 yards last night. He threw one touchdown pass. Now, it was the one that mattered. And he was objectively average throughout that entire game. And at some points, he was objectively terrible. But he threw the one that mattered. And they got the win. And they beat the Eagles. And they are now 7-7. And they are still in the hunt. And now all of a sudden, and I know this because I worked in Seattle radio. I might have mentioned that a time or two. Do I mention that too much? Maybe. But I know all the conversations now in Seattle this morning are, hey, I mean, if they could beat Tennessee and beat Pittsburgh, right? And if Minnesota can take a couple of losses, you can sneak back in, you get Geno health. Like, if you could beat the Eagles, I mean, I know the 49ers are the 49ers. What if the 49ers get knocked off, right? All of that. That's why I love the NFL. And again, I like the NFL different than college football. I think I made that clear yesterday. I like the NFL very different than college football because I like NFL football and I like college football. I like them both. But NFL football is great because in one moment, the Seahawks went from blow it all up. Do we need to move on from Pete Carroll? Do they need to be drafting a quarterback in the first round? Do they need to be maybe looking to move up? Has Pete Carroll lost the locker room? That was a conversation that happened this week. Has Pete Carroll lost the locker room? Hate to break it to you. Play as hard as the Seahawks played last night, and you come back in the fourth quarter, that's not a lost locker room. That's all it takes. One play. Well, it was about 2 plays, really. One was the play to DK that put them in striking distance, and then you got the touchdown to Smith and Jigba. But Drew Lock makes 2 life-changing passes, at least for the time being. That being said, the Seahawks are still kind of a mess. You know what I mean? Like, they're still on the outside looking in. They still are 0-2 against the Rams, who are tied at 7-7, and they don't have the tiebreaker there. Need Minnesota to lose. Don't know about the rest of Minnesota's schedule, but they need Minnesota to lose. They need New Orleans to lose. They need an awful lot of help. But for a moment on the field, Drew Lock right there with Lisa Salters is like, yep, boy, this feels good. And you know what? Good. Good for the Seahawks. Drink it up, soak it in. You get your Christmas miracle a week early. You got it. You beat the Eagles at home and you stay alive. That being said, once Christmas happens and New Year's happens and you wake up from a champagne hangover and you look ahead to what is 2024 and you go like, what does the year look like for us? I don't know if a lot of Seahawks fans are feeling very confident about their quarterback situation. And then you're going to have the draft coming up and you're like, all right, the questions are going to come back around. But for one night, singing and dancing all around Sodo. Good for them. Good for them. How'd you feel about my Christmas movie analogy? I felt like
it was rock solid.
I thought it was good.
I mean,
because I do that. My wife gets so mad at me. I've stopped since. But it was like, so they're just going to run the muffin bakery and like he's just going to leave his accounting job in New York that probably pays him about, $400K a year to move to like small town Vermont and like, and run the Christmas, like that's just, they fell in love in 3 days.
I'll say this, like, it's, yeah.
It's like you're ruining the movie. Will you stop?
No.
And it's like, and I don't want to ruin the Seahawks mood right now, but still got some problems.
Yeah, okay. Can I say this? I love your analogy, Justin. I just have to say this and get out of the way.
Yeah.
A lot of bad acting in those.
Wholeheartedly disagree.
Hallmark Christmas movies.
I wholeheartedly disagree. I think the actors know exactly.
C-level actors, Hallmark movies.
Here's the thing.
Justin's like, we have to have C-level actors in this world.
You can't have filet mignon every night, Brenden. Sometimes you got to go to Taco Bell, okay? And if somebody at Taco Bell knows how to make a Crunchwrap Supreme, is that bad cooking? Is it? Or is it giving you what you want? It's not a filet perfectly seared to a medium rare with some delicious garlic mashers on the side. No. Sometimes you want a Crunchwrap Supreme with the spicy Taco Bell beef that we don't even quite know what's in it. Are they bad cooks? Or are they just giving you what you want?
Well, I mean, this isn't. I mean, yeah, no, I hear what you're saying, but yeah, I mean, well,
But yeah, every once in a while you're like, all right, the writing, but it's like I said, it's what you need, right? It's the Hallmark Christmas movie. It's like it's just what you need. You can't watch all those year round. Just like you can't eat Christmas cookies and treats all year round, but you gotta save it.
like it is empathy coming from this side of the glass, Justin, because I can confidently say I've never watched a Hallmark Christmas movie.
You gotta try one.
Like
you gotta
give
try
me
one.
give me Elf, give me Die Hard, right? Give me.
Those are all good, but every once in a while you need a Hallmark Christmas movie. You just need one.
There's usually some themes with those movies that are a little too, a little too Christmassy for me. But it's,
Like I said, you got to suspend disbelief. You got to imagine that there is a town somewhere that the Christmas runs everything, and they have
you're like, and I also like one.
the hot chocolate contest is in 2 days. We got to get a recipe.
Do any of those people work real jobs too? Because it seems like they have a lot of free time, Justin, to help.
We suspend disbelief, Brenden. The whole point of the beginning.
That's why I said it was a great analogy. But back to the
because
Seahawks.
yes, the Seahawks, like they've got some problems.
I mean,
Right,
back-
they're not
yeah.
like that throw. I'm watching it right now on ESPN. That throw to Smith and Jigba was great. Live in the moment, right? We talk about yesterday's history. Tomorrow's a mystery. Today is a gift. That's why they call it the present, right? Boy, every football coach has put that one on the chalkboard a time or two. But like
that was a Madden play, Justin. Like
it was.
I mean, like for lack of better terms, I know most people at home can know it. Like that is a video game play. That is a throw it up, Hail Mary, end of the game, and the fact that they got single coverage is great.
Well, the reason they got single cut, I believe, I don't know because, the X's, and you don't know either, by the way, unless you played high-level football and were actually paid via either scholarship or professionally. You don't know either. But like Philadelphia,
Justin.
I got to imagine the conversation on Philadelphia's sideline was, I swear to all things holy, if DK Metcalf gets this ball, you are fired. Now, I don't know if Nick Sirianni actually said that, but I would imagine that's what was going through his mind. And I forget who their defensive coordinator is.
That's gonna.
It's somebody I know, right?
Yeah. So we talked about him yesterday. Actually, I was surprised Bill Belichick let him out of the basement.
Yeah, it's Matt Patricia, right? Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So I would imagine, maybe not in these words, but I would imagine Nick Sirianni was like, I swear to you, Matt Patricia, if DK Metcalf touches this football, you are on a Southwest flight home. You
Yeah,
are on,
I mean-
and so it's like, yeah. So Smith and Jigba gets the one-on-one and go for Drew Lock. He threw a dime. Threw an absolute dime.
Might have been the best throw he's made since leaving Missouri. I mean, let's be real. But
Like,
Justin said
Put it
he's
right
like
on a
he's
in
like
a
1
bucket.
hour earlier. Look at the throw that he made.
Yeah.
I mean,
He had thrown
yeah.
some clunkers, but at the time, he throws a dime. They get the win. And Seattle gets to just kind of embrace it and live in it for a day. But they still got quarterback concerns. They still have a defense that can't cover anybody. What are the Eagles doing, by the way? And again, I don't want to question game plan as I'm about to question game plan, but I've watched the Seahawks play all season long, right? I've watched every Seahawk game, most every Seahawk game all season long. They can't cover anybody. And Philly is just like, nope, we run the ball around here. And it's like,
I think it was clear Jalen was Jalen Hurts was there in spirit. Like, I know
Yeah.
he's a tough dude, but you knew he was.
well, he's got a bum knee
And
too,
then he was
and
sick.
the sickness.
So it was a tough day. And then, not to mention, Justin, very Seattle weather last night. Especially
It was.
very, not to say they
It
don't
was
experience.
like 43 degrees,
Right.
and that rain that we get, right? It's not like the dump. No, it is that mist that
Yep.
just hangs around
Yep.
for like 5 hours, and it's like, well, it's going to be like this forever.
Yep.
We'll
But
see you in July when it
It's like
doesn't
no
do this
dry
anymore.
spot on the stadium anywhere. But no, I mean, just my point, like on them, like I'm with you, Justin. I think definitely revel and take today. And if you're a Seahawks fan, you walk into work with that 12th man jersey, loud and proud. You needed it, Seahawks fans. It was a rough couple weeks, right? But this is where you kind of have to take a step back. My buddy and I had this conversation on Sunday when I was like, he's a diehard Seahawks fan. And I was like, how do you feel about the Eagles? He's like, not good. And
But the Eagles, like, again, I understand the best teams the best teams in any sport, but mostly in football, the best teams are like, we do what we do. You do not dictate what we do. We do what we do. And I know that Jalen Hurts was sick and he has the bum knee and everything, but at some point you're like, Seahawks can't guard anybody, guys. They can't guard anybody.
Yeah.
And then I don't understand the mentality. And again, I'm not a quarterback. Jalen Hurts was in a Super Bowl. He almost won the MVP. And I love the Jalen Hurts story, and I don't feel all that great criticizing him. But it's like time and situation is everything in football, right? He's got the ball with with 2 timeouts and I think 13 seconds. So you could probably get about 3 plays off. He just throws it up into double coverage. It's like, dude, you are 15 yards away from a potential game-tying field goal. And then you go to overtime, and I'll take my chances in overtime. And it's like, what was that throw? Now, was it an interception? Did he get the second foot down? Was it a blade of artificial turf that scraped the toe? I don't know. I could see either way. They called it a pick on the field. Probably a little tough to overturn that one. But what's Jalen Hurts throwing it in that direction anyways? Throw it over the middle. The Seahawks secondary, especially their safeties, they are not the best. Matter of fact, they may be one of the worst in the league. What are you doing? Throw it over the middle. Find a tight end. Do something other than just throw it up to the sidelines into double coverage. But maybe that was that brain fog. Who knows? Maybe he was just going for it. Maybe it was because Drew Lock did the same thing. And again, this is why the NFL is the best. And it's probably why it's frustrating to play, but it's why it's the best. Drew Lock is going to get all sorts of praise for that throw to DK Metcalf. What a gutsy throw, right? It's the same throw that Jalen Hurts made. The difference was DK came down with the ball. Drew Lock throws a pick. I'm sitting here going like, what are you doing throwing into double coverage in that situation? But he did. Got it. Put it up for his guy to come down with. And sometimes your guy just doesn't come down with the football. And that's what happened. But nice win. Nice win for the Seahawks. Needed it. Pete Carroll needed it. He's there with his hat, chomping his gum.
Doing that gum to a powder, man. He's the best at it. God, I don't know why, Justin, and to be perfectly honest, this is really, really random, but you just had to mention it. I don't know how bold he is every Sunday, some gum company has not sponsored Pete Carroll and vice versa. Been like, I mean, is there anyone like you go, what is, some coaches pace, some coaches jump up and down. What does Pete Carroll do? He chooses gum.
He chooses gum up and down, but doesn't need it. Doesn't need that money.
I want to see like the Oral-B logo on there, or what's the other, like Juicy Fruit?
Juicy Fruit.
Like Five Gum.
Wrigley Spearmint.
Yeah.
The Fleer gum that's rock hard, but
Big League Chew. He seems like a Big League Chew guy.
Big League Chew, invented right here in the great city of Portland.
It is a classic, man.
Shout out Rob Nelson. All right, we are going to go on campus. It's some craziness going on in college
Quarterback
football.
news.
Shocker, more quarterback news. Also, signing day is tomorrow, but with the transfer portal, really doesn't have kind of that same oomph and impact. But we'll dive into some college football news and notes. Before we do that, I do want to tell you about the good folks at DeBell. Oh, take a look outside. A little rainy out there, isn't it? A little rainy. A little windy these last couple of days. And if you were nervous about your roof, well, maybe that might be a sign that you need to get that roof taken care of. And the good folks at DeBella can help you out because, as you know, this winter weather is brutal. And it might be colder this year, and it might not just be the rain and the wind. But that energy bill, boy, it takes a hit. And DeBella can help you save up to 30% on your energy bills by taking care of your roofing, your windows, and your sidings with their renovations. And you can get a free quote right now. Don't just take my word for it. 15,000 five-star reviews on Google for the excellent work of DeBella. 15,000 five-star reviews. And plus, here's the perfect timing to connect with DeBella. They have got an amazing finance opportunity. 0 down, no payments until 2025, right? That's 12 months and a week from now. I can do the math on that. 0 down, No payments until 2025. That's on approved credit for roofing, siding, windows. Plus, they will maybe even throw in a bathroom renovation. Visit DeBella.us right now for a free, no obligation appointment. They just want to talk to you, and they will make updating your home so easy. DeBella, they are the official home improvement partner of the Portland Timbers. in the nation, depending on which service you use, whether it's him or Malachi Nelson, which, by the way, both of them are in the transfer portal. But it's trying to, hey, I know Arch Manning is number one. I know Arch Manning is getting all the pub. But if you look at the numbers and the film and all this stuff, Dante Moore might be the best quarterback in the country. And that was the talk last year. And because recruiting is what recruiting is, Bo Nix comes back. Dante Moore flips. He goes to UCLA. Understood. Like I thought I was going to a place where I was going to play right away. And so he went to UCLA. And then all of a sudden, all the Oregon fans who were like, this guy might be the best quarterback in the country out of high school was like, hey, not that good. You know, if you look at the film, not that good. Rather have Bo. And then all of a sudden, Dante Moore's like, I don't like UCLA. I'm not, like, I thought, because he's from Detroit, I thought sunny California was for me. I thought where the palm trees grow so tall and the girls all get so tan was going to be my place, and I was going to be living the high life in Westwood as I am. Turns out, not for me. Not my spot. So now Dante Moore's in the transfer portal, and now he's coming back to Oregon, which he never, I guess, came to Oregon, but now he's going back to Oregon. Pretty good haul for Dan Lanning, but it brings up yet another college football quarterback question. We will discuss it right now as we go on campus. All right, first off, let's just talk about, and you may call me a homer here, I don't care. Let's just talk about the recruiting ability of Dan Lanning. Dan Lanning, after losing the Pac-12 title game in heartbreaking fashion and losing out on an opportunity to potentially play in the college football playoff, in those last couple of weeks, Dan Lanning has convinced Oklahoma's starting quarterback who went into the transfer portal to come out west to Eugene. Then also got Dante Moore, a true freshman who still has a redshirt year because he played 5 years, to also transfer to Oregon, essentially be a backup for a year in an era where five-star are not backups. Five-star guys are not backups, and if they are backups after their true freshman year, they ain't going to be one for their sophomore year, which is why Dylan Gabriel was actually available. You might be thinking, like, Justin, why is Dylan Gabriel, why is he even available? Well, because Oklahoma's got a five-star kid who's a freshman who's waiting in the wings, who Brent Venables is like, we can't wait anymore. We can't. Sorry, Dylan. He's going to play. And it's the same thing with Kyle McCord, because Ohio State has got a big-time five-star waiting in the wings. And so they had to, essentially, like we see in the NFL, they got to cut a guy. It's not a literal, like, cut of the roster, but it's a figurative one where it's like, he's going to play. If you want to find a place to play, I would probably get to the transfer portal. And, it's kind of what's good for the goose is good for the gander. So, tip of the cap to Dan Lanning to get a guy like Dante Moore in an era where guys like Dante Moore could go to 80% of the Power Four, Brenden, wouldn't you say? And probably make a pretty good amount of NIL and slide right at 70%. How about that? Let's bring it down to 70%. But he had options to go anywhere in the Power Four and probably been a starting quarterback. And he chooses to go to Oregon to sit behind Dylan Gabriel. Or maybe, who knows? Maybe there's a quarterback battle. I'm sure we will hear of one that doesn't exist, but they'll try to sell us all that it does. Like, that's pretty impressive recruiting for Lanning. Now, just figure out how to beat Washington. That'd be nice. Got to figure that one out.
I mean, is it impressive recruiting or just a massive bag, Justin? Because
that's a good question. We don't know, because this is all kind of it's not under the table. It's not really above board like we know in the NFL.
And not to mention the fact that this was where he was going to go anyway. So it's like,
but is there a bag that exists? Is there an amount of money that exists to say, hey, come be a backup and you'll play in 2025? I guess maybe there is.
I think it was a hard lesson to learn that he was not ready to play this year. He wanted no part of Chip Kelly. Yeah. And, to be honest, I think he sees, like, Will Stein and a guy like Dylan Gabriel, who he'd probably like to be in a couple years.
I wonder if Oregon might do the Aiden Childs thing that the Beavs did this year, where they're like, hey, he's going to get a series, Or, like...
It worked for Aiden Childs?
Yeah, because he got a bag on a spot at Michigan State.
So, I'm just saying, that did work for him. But no, I think...
Aiden Childs got to come back to Autzen, though.
Oh, he does. I'll be
But
I'll be rooting for the Ducks that weekend.
Here's the other thing, because
Can you loan me a shirt?
It might be a little big. I mean, I am a medium.
I won't buy one, but I would wear one if one was
I'm a medium, but like
if
I might be a
if
little
one
big.
was presented to me on that day, Justin, you could take a picture of me wearing
Oh,
one.
my
That would
goodness.
be the only day you would get it.
All right, I got 90 seconds. I want to talk about this because this is the new era of quarterbacks. Now, maybe I'm just being a old fuddy-duddy, and I might be an old stick in the mud here, but there is still something about going somewhere, committing to somewhere, working hard, and having it pay off. I think that's still in our world, right? It's still in this society that there should be rewards for sticking it out. This kid, Dylan Raiola, who I believe is the number one quarterback coming out of high school right now, he played for 3 different high schools. Burleson to Chandler to Buford, so sophomore to junior to senior, then committed to Ohio State, decommitted, committed to Georgia, decommitted, committed to Nebraska. And he's probably going to sign with Nebraska tomorrow. Put out a thing on social media. This kid may be the savior of Nebraska football. This may be, right, the next Scott Frost coming in and bringing the Huskers back to national glory. And this may be a tip of the hand of Nebraska going like, hey, we've got money to spend and we're going to spend it. But I don't just something about somebody, 3 different high schools, 3 different commitments. Is he going to be back in can you? I don't know. It's amazing. All right. We've got more football to talk about. The Blazers back in action against the Suns. We've got Make or Miss. It is Get Off My Lawn Tuesday as well. Jam-packed hour number 2 next, 620 Rip City Radio.
Now, from the Goldberg Jones Sports Desk, your 620 Rip City Radio headlines. Goldberg Jones. Call 1-800-DIVORCE.
It is 7 a.m. on a Tuesday morning. Justin Myers with you. The Seattle Seahawks pull off the upset on Monday Night Football with a 2017 victory over the Philadelphia Eagles, trailing 17-13 with under a minute left. Drew Lock finds Jackson Smith-Njigba for an incredible 29-yard touchdown to seal it. Blazers return to action against the Phoenix Suns at Moda Center. Tip-off is set for 7 o'clock. Pre-game coverage at 4:30 right here on your home, the Blazers, 620 Rip City Radio. And second time's a charm. Originally committed out of high school, goes to UCLA, enters the transfer portal. Dante Moore is now finally an Oregon Duck as he will transfer to Oregon and likely sit behind Dylan Gabriel for the 2024 season. Devon Pouncey joins the show in the third hour, but we got Make or Miss. We've got to Get Off My Lawn. Jam-packed hour number 2, and it begins right now on 620 Rip City Radio.
The home of the OSAA is 620 Rip City Radio. It's RCM with Justin Myers, right here on your home of the Portland Trailblazers, 620 Rip City Radio.
All right, coming up in an hour from now, Devon Pouncey's going to join us live in studio. Basketball analyst for the Rip City Remix, also basketball analyst for the Portland State Vikings. Did you say Portland State got another buzzer beater last night? They beat Fresno State in overtime on another, 3 legit buzzer beaters, which I think technology is good in sports. I don't think it is across the board great, but I think technology has been a net positive in sports. Sometimes replay goes a little bit too far. Like somebody's pinky touches the ball as it goes out of bounds. Like, is that exactly what we wanted for replay? Probably not. But for the most part, you got more wins than losses with regards to technology. But one of the tough parts of technology, Brenden, we kind of lost the buzzer beater for a while. Like, they're still around, but they are so much more rare. Because back in the day, right, if it was even close to the buzzer, especially if you were at home, but if it was even close to the buzzer without replay, like the clock operator was like, buzz ball game. Officials are like, we're done. And then it's like, charge the court, celebrate, move on. But now it's like, no. We watched it. It went through the hoop. There was 0.2 seconds left. We got to line it up. And then you know what I mean? Even with that, Portland State Vikings, 3 buzzer beaters. It's not even Christmas. We haven't even gotten into New Year's yet. And the Portland State Vikings, shout out to Coach Coburn.
Still driving same car, you think?
I got to imagine, right? That's kind of his brand right now. I don't know.
It would be, that's something we can.
I don't know how it's the Tahoe, right? It was a Chevy Tahoe.
Yeah, that's something we can effort. We might need to talk to him here in the winter season, Justin. We obviously.
Well, they're playing good basketball.
That's what I mean. Like we've obviously had him on the show before, so I think we can certainly effort that. And it's been a couple years now.
They got a win over Fresno State.
Good for them.
And at the buzzer in overtime, they beat Portland at the buzzer. I think they've got 3 buzzer beaters. But yeah,
9-3.
Let's go. Hey, let's go Vikings, huh? Let's go. Hey,
let's adopt them as our basketball team for the.
Let's punch a ticket this year, Vikings. Come on, let's get it going.
I can't speak for your team, Justin. My team does have a winning record, but I expect that to go away once conference play starts. So I kind of need kind of like you did, like an adopted Bo Nix. I kind of need like an adopted college basketball team this year. So maybe it'd be Portland State, man. Maybe I'll adopt the Vikes this year.
I'll tell you what, there is something, and you probably noticed. You probably noticed the Ducks are okay if they can ever get healthy, which is again the last 5 years under Dana Altman.
There's a lot of that.
If they get healthy, they're going to be good, right? If they can get healthy, I like Shellstad. I love that guy.
He's good.
He's a dog.
Again, shout out, man. We're probably talking to his family as we speak, Justin.
Yeah, hey.
The pride of West Lynn, baby.
Yeah. Sorry about that loss to West Salem. It's tough. It's a tough loss, boys. He'll bounce back. He'll be all right. But I like him. I mean, you got Nafali Dante, who's like, but guys, can these guys just stay healthy? If they can stay healthy, they're going to be all right. They're going to have a chance. Arizona's a wagon, though.
Yeah, number 1, right?
Arizona's back. Well, they got beat by Purdue. Again, this is the craziness of trying to keep up with college basketball is like in college football, you always know who the number 1 team of the country is. You always know. And Now it's Purdue. Like Purdue, I think just beat Arizona. So they're the number one team in the country now. But don't worry, Purdue will lose in the second round of the tournament and ruin everybody's bracket. Like I will never, ever trust Purdue in a bracket challenge. But
interestingly enough, Justin, the Pac-12, oddly competitive this year. Only one team with a losing record out of his non-conference play is pretty much wrapped. I mean, maybe one or two more games tops. We'll see. I'm curious to see if we get a good Pac-12 basketball year. Justin and I are...
COVID really, like, you want to talk about what happened to the Pac-12 in football. Like, COVID, I think, really hurt Pac-12 basketball because Oregon, and again, I might be a homer, Oregon was on a run March of 2020. Remember Peyton Pritchard, where they beat Washington? He's like, this is my city. And so, like, they were on a run in 2020. They had won the Pac-12 regular season, and they were looking at maybe like a number 2 seed, at worst a number 3 seed in the tournament, and they were healthy, they were playing together, and COVID happens, and then you had like the weird recruiting and like playing in front of empty gyms and all of that, and I think not just Oregon, but everybody on the West Coast, as you're watching teams in the South, and they're playing like, okay, remember they were distanced, but it was like, yeah, at tip-off they were, and then everybody just kind of congregated down towards the basketball court. But I think there were two things that like really kind of hit the Pac-12 right in the gut, which was the whole COVID response with the West. Whether you think that's good or bad, it did affect sports, and we're a sports show. We're not a health show, but I can give you some health tips if you want some. Also, like, that FBI investigation probably couldn't have helped Arizona, USC. Oregon got implicated, but it never really materialized. I know, like, Pitino lost his job and he left at Louisville, and I know it was like, what was it, 5 years ago, because it was DeAndre Ayton's recruitment, which is interesting that was, but Sean Miller lost his job. Andy Enfield had to, like, figure some things out at USC. Now they've got Bronny.
And now we do not even care about, like, DeAndre Ayton. I look at that now, I go, $100K, that's cheap.
Isn't it, like, nuts?
It's cheap. That's like, that's pennies. Pennies on the dollar.
You asked me, because we were talking about another situation that may or may not involve a certain running back on your team.
Yeah, you're not going to play now, which I get.
But we were talking about, like, public perception around a certain activity of what it was and what it is now. And boy, oh boy, you want to talk about in sports, biggest change in college sports clearly is what we used to think of, like, hey, this guy got 20 grand in a duffel bag? Like, what kind of, the FBI, Brenden, the Federal Bureau of Investigation, the FBI was wiretapping college coaches, wiretapping these basketball runners, only to have it like 3 years later, like, yeah, NIL. That was a whole investigation for nothing.
Can I be this guy, Justin?
What a crazy time in our world where it was such a big deal. The FBI was doing it, and then now it's like, they're making NIL.
Yeah, I'm going to go out on a limb, Justin, and say that was a gigantic, exuberant waste of taxpayer dollars.
You think?
But yeah, back to you. just like hearing that out loud, it's like, you think it was just one person or two people in a flower van? No, Justin, this was probably hundreds of people on this investigation. So yeah, that was.
But I do understand. Like, there is part of it. It's easy now to kind of look back and be like, boy, what a big waste. It's true. But like, and this is my fear for college football, and maybe it's already here, but like, there is and I don't know if it's with NIL, if it's cleaned it up or if it's made it worse, but there's a seedy underground of college basketball of, like, deals being made and like teenage kids being like, hey, nope, so-and-so, your AAU coach made a deal. He's getting paid. Your parents are going to get some money. You have to go here. I don't want to go there. Well, if you do, you might lose. Like, that's extortion. I don't know much about extortion, but I know it's against the law, more than just frowned upon. And like there was a whole thing.
More than just frowned upon.
Yeah. It's more than just frowned upon. But you know what I mean? Like, could you imagine just being like 17 years old and you're just like, I just want to play hoops, dude. You're like, yeah, but you got to go here because your AAU coach, he's going to be an assistant coach there and he's going to get a deal. And then that money's going to get kicked down to your parents. And you're like, yeah, but I went on this trip there and I really liked it there. It's like, yeah, you can't go there. Yeah, but I don't like this coach. Well, it doesn't matter. You play here now. What a time. What a crazy world. But we love it. It's sports. It's the best. So all that being said, Devon Pouncey is going to be joining the show in an hour from now. Yeah, Damian Martinez, that's kind of, maybe we'll put that one in the big three. And maybe let's try for a time here with just the final days. What do we have left? 12 days left of 2023. Maybe let's try to do the big three on time right now. Let's do it. Live in person. Very excited to get him in. We'll talk some hoops. Obviously, the Blazers' struggles. But there's you can see some things.
Just squint.
Just squint and kind of tilt your head a little bit. It's the holiday season, right? Why be so negative, right? With all these, with all these great flavors around the holiday season, Brenden, why be salty, right? You know, there's no reason to be salty. We'll worry about that maybe come January, February, when we're all annoyed with eating chicken and broccoli and trying to, you know, cut back on caffeine or whatever else we decide to do in January.
Or the New Year's resolutions.
Yeah, it's still dark and still cold outside, but there's no fun Christmas to look forward to. That's when we'll get a little bit salty. Now, we don't need to do it right now. It's the holiday season. But also other stories around the NBA. Lakers hung the banner last night.
Of course they did.
They hung the banner. They gave out T-shirts, Brenden. Everybody in Crypto.com Arena got a Lakers commemorative in-season tournament championship T-shirt. That's a collector's item. They hung a banner last night. Man, this whole, you know what this kind of reminds me of? Did you ever have a friend growing up who was maybe a little wealthy? Maybe like his parents had some means, and it was like,
I did grow up in Sherwood. There were some kids.
Is that the like? I'm so unfamiliar with Portland Metro. Like, I obviously know about the reputation of like Lake Oswego.
Lake Oswego, Westland,
Boom.
probably Sherwood.
Sure, third place.
Like, yeah, like it's, I mean.
And it's like you would go to like the one friend's, and he's had like a trampoline, and he's got like the video game.
Justin, I had the kid who had the pool in his backyard.
Exactly. And so like, but maybe they weren't the funnest, but like they had a pool. And so we were like, we're going to be nice. And like you would go and like, hey, everybody. And he was like really into like, I don't know, Magic the Gathering or something. And you're like, all right, we're going to go over to Kyle's birthday party. Look, we got to play Magic the Gathering for like an hour. And then we'll get to hop in the pool and jump on the trampoline and play the video. But we just got to do like, he's got this whole tournament set up, and we just got to, that's what I feel like these players are doing to like Commissioner Silver. It's like, all right, guys, look, we just got to pretend we like this in-season tournament. Let's like spray some champagne and let's raise a banner. Sure, right? He's going to give us like $500,000. Like that's what it feels like. It's like, oh, yeah, you guys want to play in the NBA? You want me to be a players commissioner and not worry about all this player movement? Here's what you got to do. You got to pretend to like this in-season tournament. And it's just like when you had that rich friend and you want to jump on his trampoline and you wanted to ride his dune buggies and you wanted to have a pool party. It's like, we got to pretend to like that nerdy stuff he likes for just like an hour. All right. That's what the in-season tournament feels like to me. But hey, the Lakers raised a banner. Congratulations. Way to go. Can never take it down. Never take it down. That banner will fly forever. 2023 in-season tournament champions. But Jaw's coming back. We got Jaw coming back in the NBA.
We ready to forgive him collectively?
I am. I like John Morant. I root for John Morant.
I did. Kind of like Deshaun Watson. I liked him at one point, too.
Not all things are created equal.
Sure.
Both bad, but not all things are created equal. And I hope the NBA is better when John Morant's on the straight and narrow, off the court, and playing good basketball. He's fun to watch. Can't deny it.
We'll see how his. I'm curious to see how his civil suit plays out too, with hitting a child, but no biggie.
His life was in danger. Did you see the testimony, Brenden?
I did.
He was going to swing at me, so
I'm just saying it was a child.
He didn't know he was 17. What do you have? He didn't have an ID on him. He's like, somebody's come to swing at me. I'm John Morant. Yeah, you probably can't.
There are some tall 17-year-olds, like fully grown men, 17-year-olds. I'll give you that.
How does Jaw know?
I mean,
just write a check, Jaw. Just write a check, dude.
That would work.
That civil suit's it's going to get dismissed. There's going to be a settlement, and just write a check. So
we have seen charges get dropped for many other reasons.
Yeah.
Justin, charges can be dropped very easily.
Money can buy a lot of stuff.
It can.
Can buy a lot of stuff. Ask Anthony Edwards. Don't Google it though.
You went there.
Don't.
You went there.
Don't Google it.
You went there.
Don't do it. Text messages can be screen grabbed. I'm just saying, don't. God, these kids, they just write everything down. Like it. Don't they know about hearsay? It's like, you said this. No, I didn't. Remember the, I don't know if you remember this or not. We're going to get to make or miss, but this got me thinking about, do you remember the, the old Shaggy song, It Wasn't Me? Do you know that song? She caught me red-handed with the girl next door. Say it wasn't you. It's like, but when you picture text message screen grab, like, you can't say it wasn't you.
It's really hard to fake text messages.
It's like that song does not work anymore. It's like you just keep texting. What are you doing? You keep writing it down. Anyways, we're definitely not going to talk about that with Pounce, but we're going to talk some hoops. Portland State Vikings keep hitting buzzer beaters, and Blazers got to figure some things out. All that being said, let's get into make or miss.
It bounces off the crossbar, and it's good! Oh, my goodness! Oh, and a big miss.
It's make or miss here on RCM.
God, you got to quit sending those text messages.
Yeah.
Get a friend to send them.
I mean,
Burner phone,
yeah,
dude.
Jerry Colangelo was on this years ago. I mean, it's my wife, right?
Get a burner phone.
You know, I'd be willing to bet, Justin, no one's cared or nobody does. She probably divorced him after that. Like, you're going to throw me?
Oh, yeah, Jerry Colangelo.
Yeah, you're going to throw, or is it Brian Colangelo? One of them is
one of the Colangelos.
One of them is a USA basketball, like, good guy that we like, and like.
The other one is 76ers, right?
Yes.
You know what the OG one was? My favorite story of throw your wife under the bus story of all time.
It's on the tip of my tongue, but I go.
And again, Roger Clemens. Now, you don't know this story.
Familiar with that one. Real quick, story time with Uncle Justin.
Well, story time with Uncle Justin. Much like we thought differently about certain stuff back then, I don't know how we feel about performance-enhancing drugs now. It wasn't as bad as it was like in 05, but like, Roger Clemens, Barry Bonds not in the Hall of Fame. It's absurd. It's absurd. Those two guys not being in the Hall of Fame is pretty embarrassing. It's a grudge that's being held by the baseball writers because there are plenty of guys who are in the Hall of Fame who took performance-enhancing drugs. They just happen to do it the best. But there were the congressional hearings. They're the ones that we all remember, right? Is a panel of people. There is Kurt Schilling, who is lecturing everybody about how performance-enhancing drugs are terrible. Then there was Mark McGuire, who is like, I am not here to talk about the past. And it's like, Mark, that's the only reason why you're here. The Congress does not care about your upcoming season. He's like, I'm not here to talk about the past, just the future. Sammy Sosa forgot how to speak English. So he had to have, and then there's Rafael Palmeiro, who gives I have never taken performance-enhancing drugs ever, period. And it was like, 4 months later, it was like, yeah, positive test. Sorry about it. You did. So that happened. And then there was another round of congressional hearings, and Roger Clemens was there because Roger Clemens' former trainer got busted, right? That's how all these guys got in trouble, because they couldn't test for any of the performance-enhancing drugs. Their trainer, like, A-Rod got busted because the feds raided his doctor's office, and they're like, Alex Rodriguez, a human growth hormone right here, coming in from Canada. This is illegal. Sorry about it. That's how he got busted. And the trainer for Roger Clemens got busted. So now it's before Congress. And Roger Clemens is like, I've never done performance-enhancing drugs. It's like, well, this guy that you work out with, not only does he have this performance, he's got evidence that he brought it to your house. Like, so Roger Clemens says, yeah, about that. My wife was going to be part of a Sports Illustrated swimsuit shoot that was like players' wives, and she wasn't feeling confident about her body in a swimsuit. So my trainer, without my knowledge, gave her human growth hormone for the photo shoot. And then when I found out about it, I said, hey, we don't know a lot about this stuff. Maybe we shouldn't do it. He said that under oath.
So we're
under oath. Roger Clemens said that.
We're implying that he just knew, or like the human growth hormone transferred from her to him.
Well, you can't test for it, so he never got.
Fair.
He had the evidence that like there was HGH in his house, and he was like, "Well, I can explain how that got in my house. My wife wanted it."
Okay.
And then I didn't know.
So I thought you were talking about his other not so great character things too, like Roger Clemens.
Oh,
again,
you're like
I'll leave it at this. The same guy.
Female country music singers?
Yes.
Yeah, don't Google that either.
I'll leave it at this, folks.
Still should be in the Hall of Fame.
The same guy who, we talked about the same attorney, Justin, that represented him.
Yeah, old Rusty Harden.
Yeah, Representative Deshaun Watson. Should tell you what you need to know about that defense attorney. But, yeah, Roger Clemens maybe not the best dude, and maybe that's why he's not in the Hall of Fame, Justin. I agree. Probably some bias.
He should. Don't Google Ty Cobb then. If we want bad dudes out of the Hall of Fame, there's a lot of them that are going to have to go.
It doesn't stop with Ty Cobb either, Justin. It is.
He's just.
But no, you're right. You're totally right.
Yeah. Don't Google Roger Clemens, country music singer.
Yeah, there may be some issues there. When I'm trying to figure out what Justin's talking about, I'm like, is that what he's talking about? I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. I forgot about that.
Mindy McCready, I think was her name.
Yeah. Yep. All right, let's get to one.
Yeah, my wife had it, and I told her we need to.
Yeah,
this is some bad
way
stuff.
to throw your wife under the bus,
right?
man.
And she was sitting right behind him
That's
and just
terrible.
had to sit there
Absolutely
and take it. What a SOB.
All right, speaking of just useless things, Justin. The bubble trophy means eons more than the midseason tournament trophy. And I know Justin hates both. So this will be tough.
I dislike both. I'm going to throw a zag when you think I'm going to zig, though. I'm going to say that's a miss. In my mind, at least the best players were playing and kind of were trying. Do we know the best players were playing and kind of trying in the bubble? Or were certain guys like, I want out of here so bad?
I mean, not the Lakers or the Heat. So those two teams I think were trying really hard.
They were, but like the leading up to it, like the Blazers by game 3 of that series were like, we're ready to go home. Everybody was hurt. Nurk got hurt.
Dame got hurt.
Carmelo Anthony is just like, I mean, I guess I'll get some buckets, but. So I'll give the in-season, the trophy itself, I'll give it more credit than the bubble trophy. But not much. And I think both are kind of absurd. Where are you? Do you think the bubble trophies?
I think it's bigger, yeah. I mean, the bubble.
I mean, I will say credit to LeBron James. Credit. This is not This is not going to be a backhanded compliment. This is actually going to be an honest to goodness compliment. Credit to him. He takes things seriously. Like, LeBron looked at this in-season tournament the same way he looked at the bubble tournament and was like, well, this is unique, and if anybody's going to win it, it's going to be me, and I'm going to take it seriously. And he dives in and dedicated it, and, like, good for him. I mean, that's I think a character trait that should be, we talk about all these transfers, at least LeBron James, he tried hard. In an era where maybe trying hard's not the coolest thing in the world, LeBron's like, yeah, in-season tournament, I shall take it seriously, and I shall bring the trophy home. Good for him.
I don't know. Like the bubble, to me, it still required so much more diligence.
I guess it was a 7-game series as opposed to single elimination.
It was incredible. And like I said, it'll be something that, is written about in online, history books, lack of better terms. Because
that Chris Haynes, I don't know what's coming because I don't know Chris, but the Chris Haynes oral history of the NBA bubble, because he was there. And has such great relationships with players. Yeah. If he ever writes that book, page turner.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it was incredible. I mean, seeing it.
But there's got to be some stuff we don't even know about.
But yeah, all that to say, I think that was more impressive. The in-season tournament, to me, it's just like, I wouldn't be sad if it went away. I don't really like it. I think the courts are stupid.
Hey, and look, as an Oregon fan who has been one to defend stupid courts.
Yeah.
By the way.
Do you remember when y'all didn't have a mid-court line when it first opened?
I know I just did a story time, but can I do a real quick one?
Yeah, you're good.
So, I'm on the air in Eugene at the time, and Oregon, technically, as the rule is written, they had a mid-court line. It was very faint. It was as tiny as a tiny could be, right? Because you know how, like they'll have the circle, but, like, if there's a logo in it, there's, like, those little pinstripes. That was the entirety of the mid-court line of the original Matthew Knight Arena. And it was kind of a funny, like, hey, is there a mid-court line? Like, it's kind of there if you, like you said, Brenden, if you squint and kind of.
Yeah, I found an original photo right now online.
You could see the little pinstripes there, but it, like, if you're playing, it is not a distinct line.
Or if you're like right now, the picture that I'm looking at, Justin, taken from the upper deck,
Yeah.
you can't see a midcourt line at upper deck.
So it's
So it obviously it's changed.
yes,
Now they
but
obviously have
that
one.
was the first. Now Oregon that year, I believe, played in the CBI, right? Brought to you by Zebra Pens.
2010?
Believe they played in the CBI that year. It would have been 2010/2011. So the 2011 CBI, and they beat Creighton in the CBI championship game. The final possession was a Creighton turnover over and back because the dude didn't see the line. And
Drop game 1 to Creighton, come back and win 2 straight, baby.
they won it on an over and back call because they didn't have a midcourt line. Dougie McBucket's dad, who's the head coach at Creighton,
Yeah.
he is furious and he's losing his mind, which I don't blame him. And like I remember the next day, like I was doing my show with Steve Tan in front of the program, and we were talking, and people were calling in like, well, it's there. And I'm like, I go, hey, they need to put a midcourt line out there. And boy, people got mad at me. They're like, well, I mean, it's there for everybody. Anybody could have went over and back. I was like, yeah, it's your home court. You know the tricks of it. Like, it's Bush League. Put a midcourt line in there.
Well,
And then ultimately they did. Not because of me, but I took some slings and arrows that day. You might think me, Oregon homer, would be like beloved by the Oregon fan base. No, they didn't like me for a while.
we're gonna have some fun,
I had
Justin.
to give some hard talks.
We're gonna have a little fun here on Make or Miss. Yeah, we always do, but this is a little bit more fun.
We're having a great time.
Do you? Because I
We're
only
the
know
only ones
this
in the
because
office today. We're having it.
I only know this because 2 years earlier, my Oregon State Beavers won the CBI. And
Yeah,
it was a big deal.
a CBI wagon in the Willamette Valley.
Trivia question for you, Justin. What terrible and now defunct TV network that was
I know this.
created by Mark Cuban televised the CBI all those years? And I guarantee it was as hard for you to find it to watch the Ducks back then as it was for me to find it, because it was an obscure channel.
Wasn't it like Access or something?
What it's called now.
That's what it's called
so
now.
you are so close. I will give you half credit, but it's such the silliest name for a team.
What was it?
HD Net.
HD.
See, you remember it immediately.
Yeah.
You're like, yep.
Well, because that was when HD was like a luxury.
Huge deal.
And it was like, hey, this is a network that is all HD. We don't even go in standard def. It doesn't even exist for us. Like, whoa, what a big deal. It was like when Blu-ray, remember when Blu-ray
was
came
huge.
out? It was like, well, this is a Blu-ray. It's like, yeah, they're all Blu-ray now.
And then they said, oh, they can't scratch, like, because it was blue on the bottom. Like, I mean, Justin, we had a, again, got a very different, like you, we took a lot of road trips as kids, too. Unlike you,
You had a screen.
we had the movie player.
Yeah.
Came down in the old Suburban.
What I would have done for a
And
movie player.
Justin, we had a lot of discs, and a lot of discs that did not have cases and just got shoved
In the case logic,
in. Well, no, like again, 4 kids at one point.
the back.
Just would get shoved everywhere. All which places you'd had, grabbing for that movie. There were some movies, Justin, that were all right. Like we think streaming buffering is bad now.
Oh, man.
Imagine
DVD
having
skip.
a skipping scratch DVD, Justin, and you knew how bad that was, or a VHS tape that ate itself.
Oh, yeah, that was the real deal. That was
I remember
absolutely-
both happened to me. Both have happened to me where I'm like, okay, cool. I have a game, a game that the disc doesn't work. Hence why they don't make a whole lot of video games with discs anymore.
Yeah, they don't do that anymore. I learned that from my nephews last year.
It's
at Christmas.
rare. It's
Because
rare.
they got a brand new game for Christmas. They were all like pumped up about it. And I'm like, why aren't we playing the game? And they're like, it's got to download, Uncle Justin. What are you, an idiot? Like, they didn't say that, but they probably thought it. They're like, it's got to download, dude. It's going to be a minute. Like,
Oh,
go
gosh.
get another beer. Like, goodness sakes. So,
But
all
no,
right.
good times, man. Good stuff.
I'm still pumped. I remember the CBI with
That's-
that game against Creighton.
It is so vivid to me, Justin, watching Oregon State win that. It's vivid to me watching Dana Altman. And I told you, like, that was one of the Oregon teams, like, the Beavers were terrible in
They
Oregon.
were really bad.
But, like, that late 2000s, early 2010s, like, that was my peak, like, Pac-12 basketball. James Harden, Alan Crabb, you know,
yeah.
just, like, that was my peak love of Pac-10
Channing
basketball.
Frye?
Yeah.
Channing Frye's in there?
Some dudes, man. I mean, Yeah, the dude, Klay Thompson.
Uh,
Just saying, that guy's pretty good. Kevin Love, Russell Westbrook.
I know, all of it. All right. I still remember my favorite Dana Altman quote of all time was after I was there in the press conference, right after they win the CBI. They've won it. And he's like, this is a great tournament. Happy to be part of it. Happy to win it. Hope I never play in it ever again. And I was like, what a line.
That's some boldness. I love it.
All right, we are going to get off my lawn coming up in a moment. But before we do that, because I'm going to get grumpy about that, I'm going to tell you something that can make you a whole lot less grumpy, right? It's the good folks at DaBella, D-A-B-E-L-L-A, DaBella. They are the official home improvement partner of the Portland Timbers. Because if your roof or your windows or your siding are making you grumpy and make you want to yell at the kids to get off your lawn, DaBella can help not only with your sanity, but they can help you with your energy bills. Up to 30%. Because they'll take care of your roofing, your windows, your siding, all your renovations. And now is the perfect time to contact them because they've got financing of zero down and no payments until 2025. That's on approved credit, but it is zero down and no payments for over a year. 2025 on approved credit for roofing, siding, windows, or maybe bath renovations. Visit DaBella.us for a free, no obligation appointment. They are the best in the business. And that's not just me saying it. It's not them saying it. It is 15,000 customers that have left 5-star reviews on Google for their excellent work. DaBella.us is where you need to go for a free, no obligation appointment. Make updating your home so easy this winter with DaBella, the official home improvement partner of the Portland Timbers. All right, it is the holiday season, and I try to bring some holiday cheer to all of you. Because, why be stressed out? I understand it can be a stressful time, but it's not meant to be a stressful time. It's meant to be a time for celebration. It's meant to be a time of family and friends and togetherness. And here, have a gift, and don't worry about it. Have a gift card. Buy whatever you like, right? There's no reason to be stressed out, but every once in a while, some things about this particular season just get my goat. Just become a spur in my craw. And with that, we save our grumpiest takes for Tuesday. Why? Because Tuesday is the grumpiest day of the week. We all know it. You have hunkered down on a Monday. Wednesday, you will see the horizon. But Tuesday is tough to get through some days, especially when it's rainy and cold and nasty outside. So rather than just bury that deep down inside to where you have one too many eggnogs on Christmas Eve and you decide to yell at the children for being a little bit loud, we like to get it out on the program and embrace it with a segment we like to call Get Off My Lawn.
It's time for Justin to get grumpy. Get off my lawn on RCM.
Wrapping paper, get off my lawn. Get off my lawn. I don't know if it's a big giant conspiracy theory. I can't prove that it is, but there are some people in this world that just have an innate ability to take wrapping paper and go, oh, a little bip, 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 nip, bip, 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 perfect. Meanwhile, I've watched YouTube video after YouTube video trying to mimic and copy. Like, I've learned so many things off of YouTube. But I've learned how to install sconces in my house via YouTube. I've learned how to create faux beams run throughout my kitchen via YouTube. I can't figure out how to wrap a present in a box. Not even I cannot figure out how to wrap a present and have it make something look professional. And again, I'm not here to talk about traditional gender roles. That's not my place to speak. But let's just say there are certain people in my life, and they all happen to be female, and they just perfect present wrapped. There you go. And then I do it, and it's like, whoa. The only improvement that we have made in the paper, in the gift wrapping world, from when I was a child to where now I am an adult. I don't know if you know this, Brenden, but now underneath the paper, there's a grid. There's a little grid you can get, and you can cut it straight, and you can position it in the center. All that being said, I still can't wrap a present to save my life. I mean, there are presents from me to my wife under the tree that I personally wrapped. I feel like it is my job to wrap them. So I have done that. They look atrocious. I don't know how they do it. I don't know how the people in my life who do know how to wrap presents, and maybe it's just practice makes perfect. But again, I'm not a skilled laborer. But if I watch enough YouTube, I'm not a chef. I have no culinary training. But you know what? I watch enough YouTube videos. I can figure out how to make a delicious ribeye. I can't figure out how to wrap a present. I cannot do it. It is just an ability. It reminds me of like when I was a kid. There are two things when you were a kid that were very, very, very big deals. And I don't know if you had this in your life, Brenden, but it happened in my life. Tying your shoe and riding a two-wheeler. Those two things were such big deals in your childhood. And once you figured it out, and there were those kids that could just figure out how to tie their shoe, right? Is it a loop, swoop, and a pull? Is it a bunny ears? I don't know, but I keep getting my finger caught in it, and I couldn't do it for the longest. Finally figured it out, thank goodness. And to this day, probably because of the trauma I faced growing up, of maybe being a late bloomer with being able to tie my shoe, to where I had to have Velcro shoes. I was like, these are great. And then you go to school, and you're like, why are you wearing Velcro? Do you not know how to tie your shoe? It was the 80s. It was a different time. People made fun of you for stuff. There was no bullying back then. I mean, there was, but you couldn't report it. They were like, well, learn how to tie your shoes, and they won't make fun of you. Like, that's what it was. Or getting your training wheels off, right? Because once you got your training wheels off, that was freedom. You rode a two-wheeler, you could ride to the park. You can't ride to the park with training wheels on your bike. You're just getting made fun of left and right. Well, in that same spirit, I don't know what it is. I cannot figure out gift wrapping. Cannot. I watch my wife do it, and she's crease, 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 fold, 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 tape, tape, tape. Perfect. How'd you do that? And I'm watching. And then again, I go on the YouTube. I see my own mom do it. I've seen my mother-in-law do it, and they're just, hey, yeah, perfect. and it's all tight and like perfect and like symmetrical, and then I do it, it's like floppy and the corners are all crinkled, and I use 17 pieces of tape. You're supposed to only use 3 apparently.
That's what Pam says.
How have we not figured out a technology to make it easier to wrap gifts? And I know they have a gift bags now. You can't do a gift bag. That shows you don't care. I mean, I shouldn't say that. That shouldn't be a judge. But if I show up to a gift with my wife in a gift bag, she's going to look at me and go like, so how many times you try to wrap it? Like 4, okay? I tried 4, and now you get it in a bag.
So of the 5 Christmas presents that I bought under my tree, every single one of them has been paid by Amazon to gift wrapped in a bag and come with a custom message. So, well, guess that's...
You can get away with that as a single successful guy. There's going to be a time you're going to meet the future Mrs. Slaughter, and you are going to have a wife and a house and a family, and you're going to be like, yep, I got to wrap this.
Hopefully then that's the only gift I have to get.
This is nice. I'm responsible for like one person and then the rest. But like, how has technology not fixed gift wrapping in like I don't know. When they've been doing Christmas? 2023 years? If the stories are correct. You guys get what I'm saying. All right. Devon Pouncey is going to join us. We're going to talk some hoops for the entire third hour. Very excited to have Pounce in studio next, 620 Rip City Radio.
Here's what you need to know. From the Goldberg Jones Sports Desk, your 620 Rip City Radio headlines. Goldberg Jones. Call 1-800-DIVORCE.
It is 8 a.m. on a Tuesday morning. Justin Myers with you. The Seattle Seahawks pull off the upset on Monday Night Football with a 20-17 victory over the Philadelphia Eagles. Down 17-13 with under a minute left. Drew Lock finds Jackson Smith-Njigba for an incredible 29-yard touchdown catch to seal it and keeping the Seahawks season alive for the time being. Blazers return to action tonight against the Phoenix Suns at Moda Center. Tip-off is set for 7 o'clock. Pre-game coverage at 4:30 right here on your home of the Ducks, 620 Rip City Radio. And the Oregon Ducks land another QB in the transfer portal. Dante Moore, who originally committed to Oregon out of high school but then flipped to UCLA, is now coming back to Oregon. It was announced yesterday he will transfer to Eugene for the upcoming season. Devon Pouncey, basketball analyst for your Rip City Remix, your Portland State Vikings, and for this particular program is live in studio and joins us for the entire third hour for a fun bit of hoops talk. And that starts right now on 620 Rip City Radio.
The home of the OSAA is 620 Rip City Radio. The most transparent show in Portland is Rip City Mornings with Justin Myers. Here on 620 Rip City Radio.
All right, it is almost time. It is almost time, that's right, because when you look at check-ins, at certain parts of the calendar that certain sports have kind of taken over, the NBA is a Christmas sport.
Yeah.
Christmas Day, even though I believe there's a Monday Night Football game, Christmas Day is an NBA holiday, and it is where, and maybe I don't know how much of it is just because so many of us are sitting around at our parents or at our in-laws, and we need something to watch because we've opened up the presents and the chit-chat is now done. It's like, all right, well, there's 4 basketball games on. Whew, thank you. We can watch these games. But Christmas is an NBA holiday, and it's coming up in less than a week. And our friend Devon Pouncey live in studio. Good to have you back in studio.
Glad to be back in studio.
It's been a couple of weeks. Stomach flu, a little scheduling. Now we got you back.
Let's do it.
So, with that being said, it is just kind of big picture. It is kind of getting to that time where the NBA regular season, you're a quarter of the way through. You're starting to kind of see some trends emerge, and then you get Christmas where football is going to kind of start slowing down, especially college football, and we start paying more and more attention. When you look at some of the things in the NBA season, Pounce, from the first 20 games, because we're kind of coming up on that quarter pole. What are some of the things that maybe you have seen? Some of the stars, some of the interesting storylines that you have seen this first quarter of the season in the NBA.
So far, I just like how good these young guys are.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Youth movement's for real.
Yeah, the youth movement's, it's for real right now. You obviously got the Timberwolves. They're doing great out in Minnesota. You've got Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Chet Holmgren, and what they're doing out in OKC. I just think that you got a young movement of guys that I feel like came into the season a lot more locked in this year, and they're just another year older. They're going to continue to get better. We're going to see this younger generation rise up and become some of the best players that the league has to offer. But you still obviously got, LeBron still won the in-season tournament. So
they hung the banner last night.
They hung the banner. You still
can never take it away.
Can't take it away, baby. Can't take it away. You still got over in the East. Dame and Giannis are starting to click and figure it out over there. We knew the Celtics were going to be good coming into the season. Mm-hmm. James Harden leaving the Philadelphia 76ers seemed to be addition by subtraction with the way that they're playing over there. So I just think that it's a good blend of the older guys that still are competing to go out and win a championship because they know that their legacies are on the line, and the younger guys that are essentially just coming to disrupt all of that legacy talk because they're becoming of age to where they're starting to enter into what will be their prime years of their careers, and they're making it tough for those guys to be able to get it done this year. So I think it's just a really balanced season, and we haven't always seen that, especially in the last decade, because you always knew it was going to be LeBron and the Warriors. Mm-hmm. And you kind of know the teams that are going to be there at the top. You had the super team era. I think that we finally are fully away from that. I don't think that there's a super team in the NBA anymore. And so just being in this era where it feels like the NBA has a balanced attack, I think is super dope at this time of the year.
Speaking of the young guys, there's a player right now that I'm not going to say we owe an apologies to, but I'm just going to say the receipts, if they were kept, might be being cashed in because Chet Holmgren's playing pretty good.
He is
pretty good basketball, and and obviously he spent the entire last year injured. And I remember all the takes, and I may have thrown a couple in myself because he is very skinny.
Yeah, yeah, he's a thin guy.
And I watched him at Gonzaga, and you go like, man, there's some skill there, but like, is he going to be able to play with grown men? And then he gets injured, rehabs, comes back, and you mentioned Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. You look what Oklahoma City's doing, right? They're second in the West. They're 17-8, and I think technically, and Brenden, correct me if I'm wrong, he can still win Rookie of the Year, right?
Yes.
Yeah, because we came into the season, there's obviously all the Wembanyama mania.
For sure.
Well, 17 straight losses will do that to you.
Yeah.
And they're obviously being very cautious with him in San Antonio. Scoot's still figuring it out. We'll talk more on him and these Blazers coming up in a bit. But, man, in terms of, like, the actual eligible rookie, first year in the NBA, boy, the receipts on Chet Holmgren are going to come cashing in. Now, again, we're very early into his first full season, but was he 17-8 on a second place team? And I know Wembanyama gets a lot of like highlight reel stuff. But you watch Chet Holmgren play, and it's like, wait, that's a problem.
No, he's a problem.
Kind of a weapon.
He's a problem. He's a baller. Now, I will say, to Chet's advantage, if you will, he's playing on a team that we kind of already knew was ready-made to kind of take this turn and compete at a high level. We saw last year, when, OKC went to the play-in tournament, and we saw the corner that Shai Gilgeous-Alexander was especially turning from a young star to just a legitimate star on the verge of superstar, if you will. Some may even call him a superstar at this point. I won't quite go there yet because I got to see more in the postseason to give him that kind of love, but I think it's coming. Chet is on a team where I think, while, yes, there are receipts of people that were critical of Chet's game, and obviously a lot of folks are turning out to be wrong because of that, I think he has less pressure than Wemby has had to deal with, than Scoot has had to deal with, even down to the point that Chet was in the league last year. He just didn't play.
Yeah.
So he understands sort of the ins and outs of the league in a way that Wemby and guys like Scoot just can't, because they weren't in the NBA a season ago. So,
I mean, Wemby wasn't in the country.
He wasn't in the country, exactly. So I do think that,
He's still got to figure out where he's going to eat in San Antonio.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. So I think, for those that may have been critical of Chet, I don't think that things like that were taken into consideration enough, that he had a year to be able to see how the system works, and now he's able to insert himself into it with just a little bit more like institutional knowledge, if you will.
Well, it's interesting because, and as I mentioned, we're going to talk about the Blazers coming up in the second segment. And I understand where there are some Blazer fans that are looking at Scoot Henderson and going like, man, like I can kind of see it, but it hasn't quite clicked. And there's the injuries and some turnovers and stuff. But this is still a men's game, right?
Yeah.
This is still a game for grown-ups, and he is still a teenager. But kind of like a silver lining, you look at guys like Chet, who took that year and maybe didn't play, but obviously he was practicing, he was rehabbing, he was figuring out how to be a professional basketball player. You look at a guy like Paolo Banchero, who right now is sitting, what's he at, 21 points a night for the Magic.
He's a baller.
They're 16-9, right? And the Magic last year kind of, not exactly what the Blazers were doing, but they handed him the keys. And they're like, you're going to take some lumps. It's going to stink for a while, but you're going to figure out how to play professional basketball in the NBA. And now you look at him; he is one of the better young players. And you mentioned the Timberwolves. I mean, this youth movement, while I think it is still a little bit unrealistic to put ridiculous expectations on actual, like, true rookies, but the timetable from getting into the league to where you are not necessarily bona fide, but like to a place where you can kind of be counted on, that timetable pound seems to be getting shorter and shorter.
Yeah, I think, the international aspect has something to do with that. Guys playing professional basketball since they were 14, 15, 16 years old. Obviously the G League, that I get to call, and even somebody like a Scoot who was able to play G League basketball and play professionally before being drafted and going to the NBA. And I think in Scoot's case in particular, he's dealt with injury for majority of this season already. And to be fair to Scoot, he's been playing a lot better this last week or so.
Yeah.
So he's certainly starting to take some steps and trend in the right direction himself after having to come back out of an injury, riddled situation for their entire team. So, but yeah, I definitely think that guys are just developed younger. There's just advancements from a health standpoint as well that allows guys to be able to just take advantage of different things, get their bodies right at a younger age, and their bodies more prepared to play at this level. And then there's just more opportunities to play against pro competition across the board, and there's not as many barriers for guys to play professional basketball prior to entering the NBA.
I don't remember if we talked about this or not. I don't think we did. This basketball gate that happened in Milwaukee with the Pacers and the Bucks.
Yeah, we didn't. I don't think we did.
Yeah, first off, talk about learning something new, right? Can't teach an old dog new tricks, but you can learn something new every single day.
Facts.
I did not know. It makes sense. I did not know there was one ball in one game. I
Yeah.
thought maybe potentially
It's not
there was-
baseball, Justin.
I understand that, but because I can't remember. I think it might have been a Laker game I was watching the other day. Like, ball gets thrown out of bounds as it does, hits a beer's all over the basketball, and they're like, "We have this new ball," and LeBron's like, "No, give me a towel. I like this one.
Yeah.
This is the one that feels right. We're gonna dry this one off."
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah,
we got a whole
You
mess of
test them,
back
you
there.
do the little, you put the balls up in each hand and you just kind of let them drop and see which one bounces the highest. Like, you test the balls out prior to the game. Pause. But you test them out prior to the game,
We'll
see
get through
which
it.
one's the best, and you make it happen.
But I mean, like I said, but I would have thought, like, I don't know, maybe like at halftime they'll switch it out. Maybe you put a new basketball in the game.
No.
Turns out
One.
then I didn't realize sometimes you fight over that basketball.
Yeah, that was new.
So let me ask you this, because Brenden and I had this conversation. Who deserves it? Who
Giannis.
deserves it? You think
Giannis.
64 points.
64 points,
but
career high.
He's got a ring. He's got an NBA
So
Finals.
what?
It's a
So
random
what?
game in December. Dame goes to number. This rookie kid, he may not ever play again.
So
he might
what?
not ever sniff the court again.
Then he
He's
doesn't
gonna-
deserve a game ball.
He's gonna have an empty case in his office. He's gonna tell his grandkids, like, that case should have my first NBA point.
No.
Giannis went for 64 that night.
Giannis went for 64 that night. Giannis was all the way correct. I mean, I'm not saying he shouldn't have went. He should have went to the other locker room. You got to be a little bit more careful there, my
Rally
guy.
the troops.
But
So
yeah,
give me the ball,
give me
boys.
the ball. Yeah, but in terms of who deserved the basketball, the guy who had 64 points deserved the basketball, and I think Indiana was being petty, and
That was true.
they were being petty because he kept going. Once the game was already over and it was already established, like, okay, Milwaukee's winning this game. It's not like last year. Like, I was at both games last year when Dame had 60 and 70.
Yeah.
And Dame had to score 60 and 70 in those games, essentially, for the Blazers to win. It wasn't like that. Like, Giannis, they had sort of put, Indiana away, and Giannis just kept coming because he wanted to see, how much he could score, and it ended up landing at 64. He deserves the game ball for that, but I think Indy was just a little disappointed in the fact that he kept going for the kill rather than having a little bit of sportsmanship and, not staying in the game and continuing to dominate.
Here's what I love about sports. Multiple things I love about sports, Pounce, but here's what I love about sports, because we can kind of trick ourselves into believing that this is something bigger than it is. But at the end of the day, it is grown adults making millions of dollars playing
Yes.
a children's game. And you can still get I am taking my ball and I'm going home.
Yep, that's it. Real playground
Hundreds
style.
of millions of dollars worth of talent on the court, and an organization in Indiana that is worth multiple billions of dollars, and that at the end of one day can still go out and take my ball, and I'm going home.
Here's my thing. Giannis did end up getting a basketball. Do you think it was the basketball that he scored 64 points with? Because I don't.
I don't think so either. Just just get Giannis a ball.
Yeah.
Or maybe it was, but he's just like, nope, this one isn't it.
Yeah,
Nope, I know it. I
yeah.
played 38 minutes.
Yeah. If
I know
anybody
what-
knows, it's me. Because I had the most success with this thing out here, which is kind of why I deserve the ball, maybe. But anywho.
Well, I just didn't know, I wonder, how often do guys take we know the coaches give away a game ball, even though it's probably not the actual game ball.
Yeah.
It's a symbolic thing. But how many times do you think all right, this one is such a special night. I want this one.
Yeah.
I want this ball. Because in football, right, there's multiple footballs in play, touchdowns, interceptions, you get them. They go, the trainer takes it and writes your name on it. And obviously baseball. But I just wonder how often is that a regular thing of guys, Giannis had 64. We got to give him the basketball tonight.
I think it's a regular thing. I think it's a regular thing. I mean, it's a regular thing for coaches to get one after their first win. Again, you score your career high. I think you deserve it. If you break a record, I think Steph Curry deserved the ball when he broke the record last year. I'm assuming Dame got the ball when he entered the top 5. Anytime that you kind of just do something historic or that has never been done before, whether it be individually or league-wide, I think you give that guy the game ball.
All right, coming up next, we're going to keep talking hoops. We're going to talk some Blazers. Also, a couple of other things going on in the NBA with Draymond Green. John Morant's coming back. We'll talk about this young Blazer team. They are they're in a funk right now. They got to figure out how to get over the hump and win some games. They played the Suns tonight. So more with Devon Pouncey next here on 620 Rip City Radio. All right, Devon Pouncey, basketball analyst for the Rip City Remix, also for the Portland State Vikings, joining us live in studio for his Tuesday appearance. We're going to get back into some NBA talk, but I saw it on the X app, formerly known as Twitter, and it's another day, another buzzer beater for the Portland State Vikings. How about that? How about Portland? Is that 3? It's not even Christmas yet.
This
They got
season.
3 this season.
Yeah.
They got the win in overtime against Fresno State last night.
Yep.
Got the win against Portland.
Mm-hmm.
There's another one in there.
Man, I can't keep up.
That's
with them
how
all,
many
but
buzzer beaters they've had.
This is the 3rd one that they've had this season alone. They had a few last season as well. But yeah, they continue to just be the most clutch team in all of the United States of America. I mean,
It's unbelievable.
It's like they just. It's interesting too because I talked to head coach Jace Coburn after the Portland game, and I watched the game last night. I actually watched it live.
Yeah.
And he does not and he just has a problem with calling timeouts to stop runs or late in games. And even in that game last night in OT, Fresno State went up 7. They went on a quick 7-0 run, and he didn't get flustered. He has the ultimate faith in his guys to be able to withstand those runs late in games, and then on late possessions, be able to come through in the clutch and win games. And in the Portland game, you had Ishmael Habib, who late in that game, Portland scored with 6.6 seconds left to take the lead. Instead of coach calling the timeout, he just told him keep rolling. He never called a timeout through at that point in the game. Last night, it was KJ Allen, who some of you may know from Last Chance U. KJ Allen, yeah, he played. He was in Last Chance U with L.A., the community college out in L.A., and he went on an 8-0 run by himself late in that game last night and hit the game-winning three-pointer with, I think it was 0.2 of a second remaining. So it's just interesting, not just the fact that they get these clutch buckets late in these games, but Jace Coburn almost refuses to call timeouts when other teams go on runs late in games because he just has the ultimate faith in his guys to be able to fight through it and still come out on top. And they've been able to do it time and again.
Dude, that Last Chance U, it's great. It is also maybe the most frustrating show to watch. Because obviously there's a reason why these guys who have Division I talent are sitting in junior college, right?
Yeah,
I went to junior college because I had junior college talent.
Right.
I was like, where's my ability? Junior college? Got it. That's
Yeah.
where I shall be playing then. But then you watch that Last Chance U. Well, football and basketball was like, dude, just go to practice and go to class, and you're going to get a scholarship, and you'll be living the high life in a year and a half.
Yeah, pretty much.
Don't just disappear.
Pretty much.
For 2 weeks. Where did he go? I don't know. That's so frustrating. Anyways, we don't have time for that.
Yeah.
Let's get back into the NBA. All right. Before we get into the Blazers, we got to talk about Draymond.
Yeah.
We gotta talk, the hottest topic so far in the NBA. Right. Anytime an NBA topic can supersede an NFL topic nationally and obviously on this show because we're football obsessed, something's up. And of course it would be Nurk. Of course, of all the players that Draymond Green he was fighting through a screen and trying to sell a call. I've never quite seen a call try to be sold like that.
Yeah.
Spinning back fist to Nurk. But here's my question, because we've seen this from Draymond before, and I agree. And I think it was maybe last year when he gave the little stomp to Domantas Sabonis.
Yeah.
And Steph came look, Draymond plays the way he plays, and that has got us 4 rings.
Right.
So you can't just ask him to do that, play aggressively, and then turn it off. So I kind of agree with that. But, at some point, it's it stops being we can deal with this because there's good with the bad. The net positive almost becomes a net negative. How does this play out with Draymond and the Warriors?
I mean, I've heard that he's already starting some counseling. So, or that's kind of the process, if you will. How it plays out, I don't know. I definitely think he'll return to playing basketball this season. So 10 to 15 games, I say, is the ballpark that I expect for him to be away. And then I think the other thing to consider, which so far, Warriors doing all right without him, won their last couple of games, back-to-back nights, just beat us in a late game thriller, if you will.
I mean, Steph did kick the ball out of bounds.
Yeah.
He might have gotten fouled twice, but
but he did kick it out of bounds. Yeah,
did kick the ball out of bounds.
Yeah, he did. But hey, a win's a win's a win.
Yeah.
And so it counts towards the Warriors on their win-loss column. And I think ultimately, they're probably get outsourcing help. I don't know what particularly that looks like, nor do I really want to stigmatize or label what it should look like, because I really don't know what his issues are. I do know his actions have been indefensible, especially the latest action. I actually could defend more so the Gobert situation. While I think the choke was excessive, I understand the intent behind it was to come to the aid of his teammate who was in the middle of an altercation and ultimately got put in a vulnerable position once being grabbed by Gobert in that game. Like, if Gobert grabbed his own teammate, that's one thing. But the fact that he grabbed Clay while Clay is in the middle of an altercation with Gobert's teammate, I understood the intent behind it, but also understood the suspension because Draymond's headlock was a little bit excessive,
he went
dragging
rear
him from half
choke,
court.
Yeah,
That was excessive. What he did to Nurk was just flat out indefensible, and there's not really anything that you could say warranted that act from Draymond Green, but I still don't want to place a label on him as to why it is he's acting the way that he's acting, but I would assume that he's having much deeper conversations with the Warriors about maybe why or why not that is, and that he's struggling to control himself from having these incidents time and again, and they'll use that to directly have him go through some kind of process or counseling, as I've already mentioned, to be able to kind of come back from it all. It
is interesting, and looking kind of ahead, right? The Warriors are 12-14, and we've seen this before in the NBA, where you see kind of the end of the eras of dynasties, and dynasties don't go away easy, right? It's not like, all right, we had our run, let's just pack it up and let the young kids take over. And I think there's a little bit of that, I think, with the Warriors, not just with Draymond, but you see Steph coming out and being called out for his leadership. And then there's Steve Kerr, who's this is the most ridiculous statement I've ever seen. It does feel like the Warriors are kind of seeing that timeline of it might not be completely over, but it's getting close to being over, and kind of fighting against that. And you can kind of feel that, I think, with the Warriors a little bit. Yeah. No, I mean, it's Father Time's undefeated, unless you're LeBron James. He's putting up a heck of a fight. Unbelievable. It's unbelievable.
He's putting up a heck of a fight.
Well, it's because I mentioned a couple weeks ago, I had the stomach flu, and I was like, stomach flu is nearly undefeated. Yeah. Michael Jordan's the only one that beat it.
But yeah, for sure.
Stomach flu is 1,750,000 to 1.
It's a 1, yeah.
And Father Time is boy, it's getting tight in the fourth quarter with LeBron.
Tight. Yeah, LeBron's hanging. He's hanging, that's for sure. He's putting up a better fight than I've ever seen, that's for sure. But, I mean, the dynasty is where it is. But I also think that in order for them to sustain it, I think we've always kind of known that it's going to take the younger guys to step up. The Kumingas, the Andrew Wiggins, he's still young enough in what would be considered his prime years of his career. You got Moody there. I still don't see outside of Draymond's issues with him, I don't know if I would have moved Jordan Poole for Chris Paul. You know what I'm saying?
Did you see the shot that Jordan Poole put up the other night?
I mean, it's not looking good. Other night? Yeah, it's not looking good. All the way around, it's not as much working out, I think, for either team at this point. And again, I just watched Chris Paul the other night, and you could just tell that he's definitely in his latter days of his career in comparison to all the greatness that we've saw from him over the years. But I think it's really going to come down to how these young dudes step up. And Draymond being out can help a lot because it forces these young dudes to have to step up if they want to get to the playoffs, get into the postseason, and have a chance to play for a championship. So I think there's kind of the bad is you want Draymond Green around. He's your leader. He's defensive. He's one of the greatest defensive players of all time. And he's been from the very beginning a part of this dynasty. But the good part of it is it's going to have to force Wiggins to play better. It's going to have to force Kuminga to step up and play to his fullest potential. Same goes with Moody and so on and so forth. So I don't think it's particularly the worst thing, but from a basketball standpoint at least, but it's certainly not the best.
One other thing before we dive into the Blazers, because we obviously talk about Draymond's suspension, but the biggest suspension so far in the NBA is the 25 games that John Morant is serving. Now that's over. He's going to be coming back, and again, no excuse for what John Morant did, and especially doing it twice after you were told no, and maybe stop with the IG Live. But, he's a guy that I like. I like John Morant.
For sure.
I root for John Morant. The league is better when guys like John Morant are playing well. He's fun to watch.
Yes.
The Grizzlies kind of stink right now. They're 6-19. The only teams worse than the Grizzlies in the West are the Blazers and the Spurs. So the Grizzlies kind of stink. And they kind of clean house a little bit these last couple of years. But John Morant coming back, and I'm rooting for him because, like I just said, Pounce, this is a guy the NBA needs.
Yes,
he's
for sure.
Fun to watch, exciting player. And I hope, again, because we talked about the counseling thing and all that stuff, hopefully whatever he needed to get taken care of, he got taken care of. Because I want John Morant in the league. I want him playing well. He's fun to watch.
Yes, definitely. I mean, I'm excited to see him come back. He served his time away from basketball, I think, in terms of having a full offseason plus 25 games of being suspended. So I think that he definitely spent a significant amount of time away from basketball, and you hope that, he took advantage of that time, doing whatever he could to get the help best needed to not do the same thing that he did, obviously, multiple times that got him into this position anyway. But I can't wait to see John Morant play basketball again because he does make the league better. He's another one of those guys, as we're talking about the rise of these young superstars. John Morant is still a really young dude, and he's somebody who we're not talking about right now just because he hasn't been available and we haven't been able to watch him. But he's one of those, and I think he'll continue to be one of those dudes, once he gets his feet back under him and give him about 10 games or so, and I think you'll start to see flashes of MVP caliber John Morant that we've gotten to see in the past. Obviously, I don't think he'll be in the race this year, nor am I putting expectations on him to turn things around so much that the Grizzlies all of a sudden become a play-in team or even a playoff team. But at the same time, the entertainment value of John Morant and his just flat-out ability and the addition that he adds to this young era of players that are thriving right now, he belongs to be right in the thick of that conversation.
All right, let's dive into the Blazers. It's been a rough go.
Yeah,
it's been a rough go. And
as expected.
As expected, it's going to be a rough go. Brenden has been trying to hammer this home with me all season long. He was right. It's still tough where it's like you can't evaluate this team on wins and losses. You can't nitpick stuff night in and night out. I am kind of squinting, tilting my head. Look, I can kind of see it. I can kind of see it with Shaden. I can kind of see it with Scoot at times. I could definitely see it with Anthony Simons.
Yeah, he's a baller.
He's a walking, talking bucket.
Yes.
And now that the Blazers are kind of getting healthy, but they've lost 7 in a row. They played the Suns tonight, and I've had this question at the beginning of the year. I'm going to continue to have this question because I do believe for any team to build upon even the tough seasons, somebody's got to be in charge. I believe in the alpha. I do believe that it doesn't mean that everybody else has to be submissive, but I do believe that somebody's got to be in control, and I still wonder who's going to be on this team. Right now, certainly looks like Anthony Simons.
Yeah.
Anthony Simons looks like the alpha on this team, which is good because he's still fairly young, but he's got a lot of basketball under his legs. But I just wonder kind of moving forward, is that the role? Is this now Anthony Simons' team moving forward? Does it have to be Scoot's team? Is Shaden Sharp aggressive enough to I
still think that it's going to come down to Billups, and I've been pretty consistent in that as well. I think it's all about what Billups wants to shape this team into being.
Yeah.
I do think from a scoring standpoint, Anthony Simons is that dude, but I also think Shaden Sharp has taken leaps and bounds, in part because he's been the only one that's been essentially healthy throughout this season. Everybody else that you've named has been hurt for a good portion of this early part of the season. So I think Shaden's been able to take leaps and bounds as well. But if you talk about whose team it is today, just in terms of who's the best player on this team and who's the guy you can rely on to go and get you those buckets, it's Anthony Simons. And I think we knew that coming into the season, and he's showing it now since he's been back from injury. But at the same time, I still think that this team is young enough to mold, and I think that's going to have a lot to do with Billups and continuing to, like, have this team take on his identity as a coach and what it is that he ultimately wants this team to become. And I don't think that they're at the phase yet where they have to have those conversations of whose team is going to be. I think they're going to get there eventually at some point, so I understand why you posed that question. I just don't think today that that's a question that needs to be answered, and a lot of it is just going to have to do with the direction that he wants this team to take, which is why I like having Brogdon around. And I watched the Trailblazers. They do this, like, they're doing like this docu-series called The Trail on YouTube.
Baby.
The Trail. Yeah, they're doing this. And I watched the episode that was released yesterday, and it was really cool to hear Brogdon talk about, you know, how everybody's saying that he needs to get traded and go play with a contender. And this year he's learned more than anything that it's not all about winning, and he is actually enjoying the process of helping, being able to mold these young guys alongside Chauncey as their vet, essentially, and he can't wait to see what it's going to blossom into in the next few years, if you will, because this is going to be the young team that everybody's going to be looking at and wanting to play with, because with all the young talent that's there, it's going to become something special.
You're starting to see it with Scoot. I think more like, obviously he got thrown into the deep end of the pool, right? Hey, replace Damian Lillard. No big deal.
Yeah.
You're 19. You played a year and a half of G League ball. Let's go ahead and replace Damian Lillard. No big deal. So he got thrown into the deep end of the pool, dealt with the injury. And obviously he's kind of dealing with the speed of what is a grown adults league as a teenager. And you're starting to see it, I think, a little bit more and more. Man, when he gets going downhill, you know, when he gets that first step, there were a couple of times against Golden State where just when he gets the rhythm and the timing right and gets going downhill, obviously going to have to learn how to finish a little bit better. But there are times where, like, that speed is unguardable.
Yeah.
But it's got to get to be more and more consistent.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, once, like I said, I think for him it's just, and I'm already seeing flashes of it, it's just learning the pace of the NBA and being able to, like, incorporate his athletic gifts into that pace and knowing not just how to go 100 miles a minute, but when to slow down, when to change speeds, when to burst, when to explode, when to do these things that he's capable of doing, but without doing it at one speed where you become pretty predictable, and then it kind of gets you into positions where you start to turn the ball over a bit because you're just a little bit easier to read in that regard. But as he continues to just learn and understand the pace of the NBA, which usually comes with experience more than anything, and again, I think he's already starting to make that turn. You'll see the turnovers kind of decrease, and you'll see his game and his ability and all the reasons why he was picked third overall increase in terms of him being able to go out there and produce and show, like, flashes of how good and the potential he really has.
We got to call timeout when Steph misses that free throw.
Yeah.
We got to call timeout. And by the way, tip of the cap to Chauncey Billups. You didn't throw DeAndre Ayton under the bus. And he said, no, I felt at that time when we were like, I will take Shaden going down. He's like, yeah, dude, just call that timeout.
Yeah, I mean, you know, and like I said, I do think,
also,
you know,
like,
shading in the open floor isn't the worst thing. I mean, for what it's worth, that dude is a freakish athlete. And again, it's part of the growing pains.
I
you know what I'm
understand,
saying?
yes.
Like
growing pains are painful.
Especially for somebody like a Shaden who we know we're probably going to keep this guy around for a really long time. These are the moments that you want him, of all players, to be able to have because, again, you know, as Brenden kind of alluded to, it's not as much about wins and losses, but opportunities like that, I think, can ultimately create a better player in the long run. And Shaden, he's that dude.
All right, we have got the RCM mailbag as we wrap up hour number 3, and we wrap up the big Tuesday edition. That's next, 620 Rip City Radio. All right, time to wrap up the big show. Devon Pouncey sticking around for the mailbag. Random questions, any subject, any topic. Nothing is off limits. Will not, I repeat, will not duck the tough questions. Brenden, are we still going holiday theme?
We are. I don't trust myself to other questions, especially with Devon in
Hey,
the studio. No, all fun.
All-time
No,
great
all
moment.
good,
We're
man.
totally
It was an
staying
all-time
Chris.
great moment. For
All
sure.
time great moment.
We're staying Christmas for the month of December for sure.
So let's do it. Let's open up the RCM mailbag.
It's time for the RCM mailbag. With any question, any topic, Justin can't duck the tough question.
Can I reverse mailbag it real
Sure.
quick? I'm going to ask you guys this with regard because it's gift card season. We're going to get some gift cards. When you get a gift card, let's just say it's for
just made the wrong turn right here. But a lazy thought is just, you just didn't put any thought into this at all. And like you said, on the way here, you just picked something up to say that you did it rather than really thinking about me and considering me in the process of getting my gift.
I'll say this. I had a family member who has known me my whole life, knows exactly what size I am. Justin, they got me a shirt 2 sizes too large for Christmas.
Yeah, it's tough.
And when I opened it, I looked at them and I said, "Would you like this?" So,
oh boy,
yeah, it was hard, dude. It was a nice
tense,
shirt.
Huh?
It wouldn't have fit you, Justin.
I have fluctuated over the years. Like I have been an extra large. I'm a medium now. Some things like I give a little bit of a pass on the sizes
for sure.
But like you said, I've definitely seen the this is you overthought this.
You overthought this.
You overthought
Exactly.
this. You got a little bit in your head and got in a little little corn maze.
And that's okay. I can live with that. But the underthought, I can't. The overthought, I can live with. The underthought, can't do it.
There you go. And that's how we wrap up the big show. Thanks again to Devon Pouncey. Thanks to super producer Brenden. Thanks to all of you. Have a